Hello, everyone, and happy Independence Day wishes from all of us at the Joel John Jay YouTube channel. Today, we're jumping into one of the most incredible transformation stories of the last century. We're talking about India's journey all the way from a brand new nation in 1947 to the global tech powerhouse it is today. It's an amazing story of ambition, smart planning, and just unbelievable speed. Okay, let's get right into it. This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. The story of modern India isn't just about political freedom. There's this second, parallel story of liberation, the freedom that comes from mastering science and technology to build a totally new future. The two are completely tangled up together, and that's the angle we're going to take as we go through this whole journey. So let's set the scene. Picture it. The year is 1947. India has just gained its independence. It's this moment of incredible hope, but also you've got these massive, monumental challenges. To really get how far the country's come, we've got to first understand exactly where it all started. What's so fascinating here is the giant gap between the dream and the reality. The vision, it was crystal clear and powerful. Build a nation that could stand on its own 2 feet, a nation powered by education and development for every single citizen. But the reality on the ground, it was tough. The country had almost no industrial base to speak of. Things like roads and power were seriously underdeveloped. And technology, well, it was basically just an idea at that point. Let's paint an even clearer picture of that reality. Back in 1947, if you wanted to get news out to a lot of people, your one and only option was the radio. That's it. TV wasn't even a thing yet. That wouldn't show up for another 12 years. Most people worked in farming, using the same kinds of tools their parents and grandparents had used. The idea of a personal computer, that was pure science fiction. This right here, this is our starting point. Remember this, because the transformation is just wild. So how in the world do you get from that starting point to being a digital powerhouse? Well, it doesn't happen by accident. The next few decades were all about laying a rock-solid foundation. This was the era of planting seeds, making these really smart long-term investments that would pay off in ways nobody could have even dreamed of at the time. And you can see that strategy right here in action. Just look at this timeline. Right after independence, in 1948, you've got the Atomic Energy Commission and the Indian Statistical Institute. Talk about betting big on science and data from day one. Then, just a few years later, 1951, the very first Indian Institute of Technology, the famous IIT, is founded. This literally created a pipeline of world-class engineers. And by the 60s, India's already aiming for the stars, starting what would become ISRO, its incredible space agency. So the key thing here is this was all deliberate. This was a plan focused on building up brain power and scientific muscle. So for decades, India was building this foundation, brick by brick. And then, the moment came that changed everything. That slow, steady progress was about to get a dose of rocket fuel. This was the big turning point, the dawn of the digital revolution. The year was 1991. This was the Big Bang moment. Economic reforms opened India's economy up to the rest of the world. It totally unleashed the private sector, and most importantly, this little IT industry that was just getting started. All those engineers from the IITs, suddenly, they had a global stage to play on. This is when the software export boom really kicked off, and the world started to pay attention. And just 4 years after that, the next critical piece of the puzzle just slammed into place. In 1995, the internet became available to the public. This was the real catalyst. It's what connected that huge, growing pool of Indian talent to the global digital world. It was like opening a floodgate, and all this innovation and opportunity came rushing out. So let's jump forward and look at the impact today. That digital sector from the 90s, it has grown at a truly explosive rate. This chart here shows you just how big it's become. By 2026, the digital economy is projected to be a massive 20%, a full fifth of India's entire economy. That just shows you the insane speed and scale of this whole transformation. And that brings us to today. Right now, India isn't just playing in the global tech game, it's a major leader. And we're not just talking about one niche area.
We're talking about leadership across the entire digital spectrum. Just take a look at the sheer scope of this. You've got IT and cloud, where cities like Bangalore are known all over the world as tech hubs for the biggest companies. In BPO and analytics, India is the undisputed world leader, no question. But it's also pushing the absolute boundaries in super advanced fields like AI, using it to solve real problems in healthcare and farming. On top of that, we're seeing huge growth in robotics and electronics manufacturing. The breadth of it all is just astounding. Let's zoom in on one of those super advanced fields for a second, generative AI. This is the kind of AI that can actually create brand new stuff. Write an article, make an image, produce computer code. It's one of the hottest frontiers in tech right now. And here's the really important part. Indian companies aren't just using this technology. They are right there at the forefront, actively creating world-leading work and helping to develop it. Automation is another huge area. It starts with software, things like robotic process automation, or RPA. Just think of software bots doing all the boring, repetitive tasks in an office. This makes things way faster and more accurate in areas like finance and HR. But it's not just software. It's moving into the physical world, too, with more and more startups building actual robots for complex jobs in manufacturing and even in medicine. And believe me, the world has noticed. This isn't just some local story. Hey, remember that space program they started way back in the 60s? Well, today, India is recognized as one of the top 5 nations in space exploration, famous for its super successful and incredibly efficient missions. And it's not just space. The country's overall ranking in the Global Innovation Index has shot up to 39th, which shows a really broad-based culture of invention and development. Okay, so we've talked a lot about policies, technologies, and big industries. But here's the thing. None of this stuff happens in a vacuum. The single most important part of this entire story is the people. This whole transformation was, and still is, powered by this massive human engine of talent, hard work, and pure ingenuity. And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? The credit goes to everyone. The scientists in the labs, the engineers hammering out code, the teachers who inspired them, the entrepreneurs who took all the risks, the workers on the factory lines, and yeah, even the farmers whose strength is really the backbone of the nation. It's a story about everyone pulling together as a team. And that brings us right up to today. Think about it. From a time when a simple radio was cutting edge to an era of designing complex neural networks and generative AI, it's a journey on a scale that's almost hard to believe, and it all happened in just over 75 years. It just leaves you with this one huge question to think about. If this is what India did in its first chapter, what on earth will the next one look like? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and once again, happy Independence Day wishes from the Joel John J YouTube channel.